Now, when you are rendering, we can check in the browser here. When you are rendering something like the login screen, essentially when we are doing this, you most likely are not going to just render it like this by importing a render from the testing library slash React Native, because in most of your apps you are going to have some type of navigation, state management, authentication, payments, or stuff like that that will require you to include some type of provider. And we have, and for example, in this app, we have Stripe for payments, Clerk for authentication, then we have Redux for state management, and then we have Navigation Container for navigation. And inside the React Native testing library documentation, it's recommended to create your own testing utils folder or the file where you have your own config, where you add the providers that you want to test and the rendering options. And here inside the app, I added, since I just wanted to test the state changes and not authentication and payments, I added Redux provider here. And here we are importing, and I added navigation as well because I wanted to test navigation as well. Here I'm importing navigation container the same way we have inside the app. Then we have render options, provider from React Redux, and store that we have inside React Redux. Okay. Here we have the method all the providers, which will have an argument of children, which will be a React node. We are rendering it the same way we would, and the children represents the app, so our app. And here I created the diagram. We have Stripe provider that wraps the clerk, that wraps Redux, that wraps navigation, that wraps our app, and that children here is our app, so our core logic here. Now we are creating custom render, which will have UI method, which will be a React element, and we have options that we can pass, so additional options if we want to change later how something renders. Okay, then we have UI, and we have wrapper all the providers, so we are passing the provider Redux and navigation because we want to wrap our app with Redux and navigation, so we want to test their behavior as well. For example, if we change the state in Redux, we want to test if that really changed, and for example we want to navigate something. All of the other exports, so here we are exporting everything from testing library, and then we are exporting custom render as render. Okay, and then here let's grab one component and render. So here, let me just close these two. Render we are importing from testing utils, and here custom render is exported as render. So we are not using the render from testing library, we are using the render that we created here that has all the providers that we want to work with, as well as the options we can configure if we want to later. So it is basically a recommended way for you to change testing configuration based on your requirements and all the wrappers and options that you want to change. I hope that was useful. I'll see you in the next one.